And welcome to the candidate debate for Crow Wing County Commissioners. Thanks everybody for coming tonight or watching from home. I'm Tom Martin. I'm from R&J Broadcasting. We are broadcasting on Skeeter 101.5, homegrown local radio. Today's forum debate is a collaboration between the Cayuga Lakes Chamber of Commerce and the League of Women Voters Brainerd Lakes. Thank you to the volunteers also from Central Lakes College, the videography class, the American Association of University Women, and the Hella Community Center for helping us put this event on tonight, making this possible. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few of the points. First of all, please remain quiet as possible while the candidates are speaking so that everybody here and at home may hear, and please hold the applause until the forum has ended so the candidates will have all the time possible for getting their points across. Right now, I just want to remind everybody too to please turn off your cell phones. No photography or recording is allowed during the forum debate. Tonight's event will be live streamed on YouTube and Facebook. Will be available for viewing from now until Election Day on Cayuga Lakes Chamber's website. It's also broadcasting on Skeeter, KFGI 101.5 radio. The views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, not those of the sponsors of the forum. None of today's sponsors will be endorsing any of the candidates, and all candidates were invited. You are welcome to submit written questions for the candidates either on note cards provided or through the chat option. Questions that are unclear, hostile, or of personal nature will not be used. We reserve the right to screen the questions and may consolidate questions to cover as many topics as possible. If you do not get a chance to ask your question or the answer is unclear, please feel free to talk to the candidate after the forum debate. The rules. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening remark. Then I will ask a question, and candidates will have up to 2 minutes to respond and 1 minute for a rebuttal. We decided the order for beginning by random and will rotate the order for answering. I do have a little conflict. My paper says 1.5 minutes and 30 seconds for rebuttal. Is that right? Okay. Yeah, let me correct that. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes, 90 seconds per question, and then 30 seconds for rebuttal. And there is a timekeepers right here, so if you can kind of keep your eyes on the women here, they will hold up the time, and we'll try to keep you guys on time here. So our candidates tonight, which we'll be getting to secondly from the Crow Wing County Commissioner District 5, will be Doug Hogue and Michael Starry. And we'll get to you guys in a moment. We also invited Crow Wing County Commissioners from District 1. Paul Coring decided he has declined the invitation, so a write-in candidate, Arlene Jones, is here. And we are going to give Arlene 3 minutes to make a statement here. And Arlene, if you're ready, we're going to let you go, okay?
I'm ready.
All right, here's Arlene Jones. She's a write-in candidate for Crow Wing County Commissioner District 1.
Hi, everybody. First of all, I want to thank you all for being here and thank the sponsors for tonight's forum. As Tom said, my name is Arlene Jones, and I have put my name in the hat as a write-in candidate for District 1 County Commissioner. I've been a Crow Wing County resident for 35 years. I am the owner of the farm on St. Matthias, which is located in Crow Wing Township. It's an 80-acre vegetable production and destination farm. Some of you might have been there for past corn mazes and wagon rides in the fall. I also started the first farm-to-school program in Crow Wing County, working with many farmers to gather enough local product to get them into our school districts with our young children. That work led me to co-found and continue to serve as the executive director of Sprout, Minnesota, located in Morrison County. It is a nonprofit food hub working with over 100 small family farms in central Minnesota right now. It was an economic development strategy to keep our dollars circulating locally, keep our farmers on their land, and keep that ag land in ag production. It's also been a vehicle for me to use food as a catalyst for social change, developing programs to work in the fields of mental health, addiction and recovery, with our veterans and with families who are food insecure, using food to help folks get to better health through the use of food, better health and better nutrition. I have a 23-year career with the state of Minnesota, ending as a management analyst, which were key strengths that have allowed me to use that work to in small business development and in systems building. District 1 is the largest agricultural district in Crow Wing County. I am a farmer. I work the fields. I work growing food, and I am connected to the agricultural community in District 1. I want everybody to know that I believe in the basic guiding principles of community development. That is where, in order to meet the needs of the entire community, you start with the poorest members of the community and you ensure that they have a place at the table, a voice in structure of the work, and that is community development. I am running because I deeply care about my neighbors and my community, and I believe, as well as my supporters, that I have the work, moral, and character ethics to lead effectively with respect and focus, even when there are disagreements. Thank you.
Thank you, Arlene. Arlene will be available for questions from the audience here afterwards.
And there's some literature on the table out there if you so desire.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, before we started here, we drew from a hat candidate A and candidate B, and we'll start with candidate A, and that is Doug is A, Michael will be B, and I'm ready to go. Again, if you have questions, you want to write them down, hold your hand up, and they will come and grab them from you, and they'll screen them, and we will get to them. So we're going to start with question number 1. We'll start with Mr. Hogue. What are the 2 most important challenges facing Crow Wing County, and how will you address them?
Tom, were we going to do opening statements? Or?
Oh, opening statements, I'm sorry. Yes. I'm sorry, Doug.
That's great.
Thank you for correcting me. Yeah, you guys each have 2 minutes for an opening statement. We'll start with you, Doug.
All right, thanks, Tom. First off, I want to thank the League of Women Voters, the Crosby Chamber, and the CLC team for hosting the event tonight. I'm going to use my opening statement tonight to share a little bit of the Crow Wing County's vision, mission, and value statement, along with a few suggestions on how they relate to my ability to lead and perform the task of County Commissioner. Our vision, being Minnesota's favorite place. I'm proud of the many accomplishments that Crow Wing County has done to support the small businesses, to support the resort industries, along with the dedicated individuals involved that make the great many recreational opportunities that bring visitors to our community. Our mission, serve well, deliver value, and drive results. Serve well, making myself available to those with questions, comments, concerns, whether phone calls, emails, in-person meetings. I'm open to all of those. Deliver value. I've been supportive of reasonable property tax levies while still maintaining the excellent and required services provided by Crow Wing County. Examples of that are 8 years of a zero levy increase while still providing 300 miles of new road construction. At the same time, never losing focus of making sure that our sheriff and law enforcement team have the necessary necessary equipment and support to keep everybody, our citizens safe, as well as visitors coming into our community, assuring that they will return. Driving results, Crow Wing County is in the process of rewarding those businesses that have been affected by the COVID pandemic a grant of up to $10,000, as well as utilizing some CARES Act dollars to expand and, oh my goodness. Well,
Sorry,
I
Doug.
misjudged that.
Time is up, and we'll have to stop you right there.
You could have
We'll
finished
go
that
over to
last
candidate
sentence,
B and Michael Starry. Michael, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement, please.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks to the League of Women Voters, Cuyuna Lakes Chamber, and everybody else involved. I'm not going to have as fancy of a pre-planned opening statement. I'm a lifelong resident of Crow Wing County. Was raised bouncing between Crosby and Emily. Decided to get into local politics because I didn't feel local politics was representing me, much like the state and the Fed doesn't seem to represent me, but I don't have as much ability to run against that as I do locally. Ultimately, my goal is to lower or maintain tax rates where they are. We're not seeing that now after 8 years. We're seeing now a couple years increase, another 13% increase proposed this year. I don't believe in that. I believe the taxation is theft. It's theft from your pockets. It's theft from my pockets. So that's the primary reason that I'm running. I want to be represented. I want the people to be represented, and I want taxes to stop going up. And that's the entirety of my opening statement.
All right, thank you, Mr. Starry. All right, as planned, we are going to go back and forth now, and seeing as how, Doug, you started the opening statement, we'll go over to Michael for the first question.
Oh, sure. Already a curveball.
You each have a minute and a half, and then we'll give you each 30 seconds for rebuttal, okay? We'll go back to that question. What are the top 2 most important challenges facing Crow Wing County, and how will you address them?
The top 2 most important challenges facing Crow Wing County: how to maintain the tax rate where it is now, or the levy where it is now, without losing services, and ending any and all misuse of county funds, whether it be, in social services or land services or the sheriff's department. It's finding where that's being misused, misspent, or wasted, and ending that. How do you go about that? Part of that is prioritizing our needs. Absolutely, there's going to be things in the county budget that are going to require a tax increase, a levy increase, because certain things are going to need to come up, early intervention programs, that sort of a thing, but that's got to be offset somewhere else. We can't just continue to throw everybody else's money at a problem as a solution. So that's the first thing, is figuring out which departments need to take a cut, which ones need to take maybe a sit back, and which ones actually deserve the increase. And then as far as the rest of it, it's constantly sticking your nose in it. Find out what every department is doing, analyze every single ounce of the budget, and figure out where every little bit of spending is taking place. And when it's not being done properly, holding those people accountable.
Thank you. We'll go over to Mr. Hoag. Same question. What are the top 2 most important challenges facing Crow Wing County, and how will you address them?
Thank you. One of the top 2, I believe, is producing a reasonable budget. Budget process is not something that starts, a month before it's approved. It's a 6-7 month process. Currently, the rumors of a 13% property tax levy is just not the case. When we start the budget process, all of our department heads will come to us with their needs. That information's gathered and compiled. And maybe early on, there could have been 11% increase that would be needed to satisfy all those needs. Then for the next several months, you spend time weeding through those numbers and trying to determine what is needed, what isn't needed. And currently, we've got that number whittled down to 5.5%, still with some time to go. The key to doing all that is, again, making sure that we keep our citizens safe, supplying the service, the programs that are required for some people, and doing all of that while maintaining a reasonable budget is a lengthy process, but it's one that we've been very proud of and consistent of doing over the past 13 years that I've been involved.
Okay, thank you. I will go back to you, Mr. Starry. You got 30 seconds for a rebuttal.
Well, not much to rebut. I mean, we both have about the same opinion on that. How do we keep it down? He's right that it starts out high and then it whittles its way down, but over the last couple of years, it's incrementally gone up a little bit, and it's probably going to do the same thing this year. I get it. I understand that it's difficult to take everything out because there's always a happy project or a pet project or a sacred cow that somebody has, but I think there is possibilities that you can maintain a zero levy.
Very good, thank you. 30 seconds for rebuttal from you, Mr. Hogue.
Well, the idea of a zero levy is just one that doesn't work. With the uncertainties, the unknowns, health insurance costs, those unknowns, unforeseen challenges that we have today that we're facing many of, those take money to work through. In some cases, we are spending money up front to try to put programs together that will ultimately save us money, but it's going to take 2 or 3 years to get us to that savings point. So it's just not feasible to maintain.
Okay, thank you. We are ready for question number 2, and we'll switch the order here. Mr. Hogue, we'll start with you. In your experience, what is the key to developing a good team?
Well, I think the main thing is to listen. I think in the past we've always taken the approach of telling our senior management team what we want to see for a budget. That's going backwards at that process where we now gather, sit down, and discuss those needs, and that helps commissioners to determine what is required, what could wait, what we could do without. But forming that relationship with your senior management as well as just staff in period, I think is critical on how we resolve issues and move forward.
Thank you. Same question to you, Mr. Starry. In your experience, what is the key to developing a good team? You have 90 seconds.
Being willing to lead by example. Every position I've ever held in my life, whether it was a shop supervisor or it was lead engineer, the role required me to be able to do and be willing to do everything that I asked anybody else to do. So if I told somebody I needed a robot programmed a certain way and I needed a part cut a certain way, by God, I was going to be able to do it myself. If I tell you you need to lift a 200-pound log up over your head and get it up on that shelf, I better be able to do it myself. Number one key to leadership is a willingness and a desire to do what you're asking those who work with you to do. That's it. If you can't lead by that example, you're not a leader.
Thank you. All right, we have a 30-second rebuttal. We'll go back to Mr. Hogue.
Again, I think the key is to listen and be engaged. There are so many moving parts in county government that it would be quite a challenge to know every moving part and how they work, and that's why you've got to build that trust and trust your senior management team to steer you in the right direction with some of these big decisions that we make. So again, I say that it's engaged with the process and listening and learning.
Thank you. Mr. Starry, 30-second rebuttal.
I can appreciate the sentiment of engagement. Again, that would come back to leading by example, though. I mean, there is a history from the incumbent of attending about 41 to 47% of his committee meetings, so I do wonder about the listening part of it. Again, I come back to the lead by example. If you can't be there to listen, you're not leading by example.
Thank you. All right, we're going to question number 3. We start with Mr. Hoag. What experience do you have preparing or authorizing budgets?
What experience?
What experience do you have preparing or authorizing budgets?
Well, experience is 13 years of county budgeting and working that process. As well as a small business owner, I am responsible for my own business budgets. So the two are really hand in hand. It's just that one might be only $1 million and the other could be $90 million. But the 13 years of engaged in budget process, I believe, has been very helpful and gives me that ability to engage.
Go to Mr. Starry, same question. What experience do you have preparing or authorizing budgets?
Outside of my regular home life and authorizing and preparing that budget, supervising when I was a lead CNC programmer, my job was to prepare the budget for capital expenditures for new machines, robotics, CNCs, annualized tooling, pay raises, that sort of thing. So every year I would have to present my budget. Here's my projections, argue with the bosses, figure out what we could actually afford and get it done. So that was my experience, was in the professional world of about a $400,000, $500,000 a year budget.
Okay, thank you. 30-second rebuttal. Mr. Hoag.
Well, again, I really just rely on the experience. Again, that relationship that we've formed with our administrator and our staff to assure the public that we have put together the most responsible and reasonable budget request that there is.
Thank you. Mr. Starry, 30-second rebuttal.
Well, the question was, what do you do, what's your experience preparing the budgets? And it sounds like your experience preparing the budget is letting other people prepare it.
Thank you. Mr. Starry, you begin the next question. The next question is, what role does the county play in providing diverse recreational opportunities in the area?
Well, they provide a pretty good role, actually, with, timber sales and tax forfeited sales. Boy, that time went up quick, didn't it? I think it's actually a key feature, though, for the county. It's been pretty fantastic. Some of the parks we have, some of the recreation opportunities we have are great. I love some of the ability to use tax forfeited land sales, timber harvest land sales to fund the development of parks and rec opportunities. I think it's definitely one of the key features of local government, providing that, promoting the general welfare and the general health of the community through the parks and the park services.
Thank you. We'll do the same question to Mr. Hogan. I've been asked, can you get a little closer to the mic, please? They're having a little tough time hearing you on Facebook.
Thank you.
What role does the county play in providing diverse recreational opportunities in the area?
Well, I think we play a large role. We've got 105,000 acres of forest that we manage, which is usable for recreational activities. The recreation is what brings the visitors to our county, which supports the small business industries, the resorts. So we've got a responsibility to look at every recreation that does come in front of us. We have a process that we vet these through, and some do work, some don't. But since early on, as a commissioner, there was no process. So some of those recreational activities were kind of a hit and miss. But with the policy that's put in place, I think when we do add a recreation, it's a solid and supportive program that is good for all user groups.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Starr, you have a 30-second rebuttal.
No, I like what Commissioner Hoag said there. I think he nailed it spot on. Every once in a while it is hit or miss. I like that concept of the county, though, that they're willing to entertain some of the options and look at everything, and once in a while you hit a foul ball, you know? I agree. I think that's a fantastic point.
Thank you. Mr. Hoag, you have 30-second rebuttal.
Well, again, John, I say any user group, every user group, that whether it's silent sports, motorized, has the ability to come in front of the board with a proposal. And we have a current one right now with the shooting range that's going through the process. Again, some of these make it, some of them don't, but it's our job as commissioners to look at these and determine what's best for Crow Wing County and the people that live in it. So.
Thank you. Go to question 5, and we start with Mr. Hoag. How can the county support businesses and individuals during the pandemic?
Well, again, in my opening statement, I mentioned the fact that we have an ongoing process right now that will reward $10,000 grants for those businesses that were affected by the COVID shutdown. And that is in process right now. We've got other opportunities that we are using some of those funds to help broaden the broadband in our area that will hopefully help out some of the distant learning folks. But right now the biggest thing that we've got is this CARES Act dollars that we can at least give them some money to keep their businesses operating. And we did take a action early on that delayed property tax payments, giving some people, businesses time to recoup and rebound, get their doors back open before they were forced to pay their property taxes without penalties. So, anything we could do within the arms of the law, we've taken a look at, and I think have been, as successful in helping out many small businesses.
Thank you. Mr. Starry, same question. How can the county support businesses and individuals during the pandemic?
Well, the number one thing the county can do is get out of our life. Push back on the state. It can't just be the individual. It needs to be the county. It needs to be the people as a whole pushing back on some of the restrictions that seem to me like a bit of nonsense. The CARES dollars, I think, are fantastic. I think the county has an opportunity as well with some of the county-held lands, tax-forfeited lands, some of the timber harvest lands. You could actually probably work out a deal, and maybe there's some legalities, but you could probably chase it a little bit better, where you could use some of those funds to offset your property tax losses and forego the property taxes for a year, rather than just push them out or delay them. Maybe the county picks up that side of it. It is our money after all. So it would be the same as you and I paying our taxes anyway. Just go ahead and sell some of that property off and do it that way. It's an option to look at. Other than that, no, it's just get out of the way and help the citizens push back a little bit on some of the restrictions, and maybe look into helping things when there is a push from the state to shut down restaurants and come screaming in because one guy doesn't have a mask and you give him a $50,000 fine. Well, we are trying to make a living too. You can't expect us to lose our wherewithal and our lifeblood because one guy from Minneapolis came up and saw that I didn't have a mask on. So.
Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Hoag, 30-second rebuttal.
Well, I can say that we don't have county folks out on mask patrol. That is the state health department that does have a group of folks out enforcing that law. As far as moving the county out of the way, the county, without the county to maintain, build new roads, people wouldn't have a safe way to get to work. So it's the county's involvement, I think, is necessary in times like this, and I think they're not stepping on toes. They're trying to assist any business out there that needs it.
Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Starry, 30-second rebuttal.
I would disagree that without the county we wouldn't have roads, but that being said, there are things that your representation can do to help the people. You can push back So, yes, I get that the county doesn't impose a mask mandate, but the county can also fight against some of those things. Maybe not win, but at least give the people a voice.
Thank you. We're going to ask a couple of questions from the audience. So,
Still having problems hearing Doug. So I just want to bring it a little closer to you there.
is that better?
I don't know. We'll find out.
The next question, we're going to start with Mr. Starry. I got two questions from the audience here, and hopefully I get these right. Can you describe your position on the current fund balance policy? Did I get that correct? Can you describe your position on the current fund balance policy?
No. Not familiar with that term, so no.
Okay. We'll go to Mr. Hoag. Can you describe your position on the current fund balance policy?
Yeah, I can. We have 5 fund balances that is, I guess you'd probably refer to more as a savings account in your personal life. And those balances are determined by the state revenue office and suggested that levels that we should be carrying. Those are used for if there's storms, whatnot, unexpected consequences that cost millions of dollars. That money is used to pay for those costs. Currently, we do have fund balances that are below the suggested, the recommended levels. We do have a plan in place potentially this year to replace up to $4.5 million of those fund balances. Again, we're not complete with this process, so we do have a lot of work left to do in the budget. But there were a few years where we did have to tap into fund balances to continue to operate. That said, we're in the process now of rebuilding those and paying those back to the levels that they should be.
Thank you. Mr. Starry, you have 30-second rebuttal.
Cool. Rainy day fund. Got it. Fantastic idea. Absolutely despise the fact that the state mandates what the county has to hold in there or gives us their recommendation. I think the county can determine what your overall needs are for a rainy day fund. So I'm not a real big fan of state government being involved in how our county saves our money for future rainy day use.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hope, you got a 30-second rebuttal too.
Well, again, the state doesn't dictate to us. It's a suggestion. Fortunately, there are offices within the state that I believe are valuable and worth listening to. So we do take their recommendations serious, and I think it's just good business practice to follow their recommendations.
Thank you. Okay, we have another question from the audience, and we'll go back to Mr. Hoag to start with here. How do you plan to support economic development?
Well, I think, again, we can continue to, we support them by offering what programs we can. There are options, whether it be in some increment financing or whatever that may be. The support is just out there offering whatever assistance we can to them within reason of spending county dollars responsible. But it's just being there to help and answer the questions they may have, lead them in the right directions, and just assist.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Starry. How do you plan to support economic development?
Well, I think the best thing that we can do, and Commissioner's right, I mean, listening to what the needs are, but I think the county can take a more active role searching for even related manufacturing. So we've become a great vacation destination, biking and that sort of thing. What can we do to find manufacturing? The reality is not every kid wants to work at the local McDonald's that's coming in. Kids might want to take a job like where I started in manufacturing and packaging, that sort of thing. So I think the county has a bit of an obligation to maybe provide a little bit of industrial job, but we can cater some of that toward the recreation destination. What can we do? What kind of manufacturing can we get? What kind of service can we have that supports those industries and provides some better economic opportunities for us? Some of the tax incremental financing is not a bad idea. I'd like, again, taxation is theft, so I'd rather see things foregone as far as taxes go, because that brings in people more than any other business opportunity. Somebody sees that they can do it for a lot cheaper than paying, their standard tax rate. That's a big bonus for a lot of business owners. So that would be the first steps that I would try to take.
Thank you. We'll go back to Mr. Hoag, 30-second rebuttal.
Well, I've been a huge supporter of the both the Creedy and Bladek, which are the economic folks that know what type of businesses, who's looking for what and where it would best fit. At one time, there was even a proposal to cut off funding to those folks, and I did fight hard to maintain that funding. Without those folks out searching and listening and finding those opportunities, I think for the county, it's important that we support and fund them to do that job. So that's one way we can support economic growth.
Mr. Starry, 30-second rebuttal.
No, I like it. I think any opportunity where you can have people in the county that are all actively seeking the same thing but having a different viewpoint on that is great. So whether it's the Bladek situation or an absolute break on property, business taxes, that sort of thing, I think when everybody's throwing an idea at the wall, eventually you can reach a compromise that might actually work and get something new here that we haven't had for a long time.
Thank you. We have time for some more questions, correct? Do we have any more audience questions? Okay. We're going to start with Mr. Starry.
You're breaking out them back out questions? Yeah.
Hey, we can stay here all night.
Came prepared, Tom.
How would you address the gap in recycling services?
Actually, I think the county's looking at it pretty well right now, where it's kind of there are some communities, I know Nisswa is one that is kind of pursuing their own route. I think it's pretty nice. The county's looking at an opportunity with some matching funds. They're going to try to consolidate all of the communities to have their own distribution sort of deal or their own recycling system, but the county is working on, can we, with, say, 7 communities, get a cheaper rate than each individual community would? And if so, then we can finance some of that or, offset some of that. I think that's not a bad idea. I really like the idea of each township, each city, each community digging on their own as well. I know Nisswa found a heck of a deal. They're getting quite the rate break now, so I know there's been a little pushback. Would we rather have them all combined into one, or let them all run off on their own? I think we have to review it as a price, but I think you also have to admit as a county, at the end of the day, if you come back and go, it was going to be $120,000 for this, and Nisswa was able to get it for $90 on their own, maybe we ought to go with a carrier that Nisswa is using. So we have to leave ourselves open to those options when another community comes up with a better solution, because we don't necessarily know it all at the county.
Thank you. Mr. Hoag, same question. How would you address the gap in recycling services?
Well, there's 2 options. One would be, of course, a increase in the tipping rates at the landfill. That would support the recycling program. Or we take a look at the current program as it did set, and try to take a lot of the abuse out of the program, and that's where we determined to minimize the number of sites. We will never eliminate recycling in the county, but we do want to develop programs that are more controllable, that we know that the costs are not being wasted on contamination fees. Some people, unfortunately, like to use these recycling areas as a place for their personal landfill, and unfortunately that's why a lot of these these changes were made. We do have a new policy that will work with any city township as long as there is some cost sharing involved. We do have one currently that's entertaining that, but you know, you got to have both units have to have skin in the game to make it work and work it right. We're also looking at some revamped plans at the landfill that would make it easier for the public to get in and out of there for their recycling. So there's a ways to make it work and cost effective as well.
Thank you. Mr. Starry, 30-second rebuttal.
Oh, nothing to add to that. And, Commissioner Hoag's spot on. I love the idea that the county looking at the landfill itself for a little bit easier access too. I think that's a good plan, because we do run into that where we talk to people. It's just kind of, it's cumbersome. So yeah, I agree. I think he's on the mark on that.
Mr. Hoag.
As we see some of the recycling prices come up, actually, and a lot of that is due to the pandemic. So we don't want to, you know, get too carried away yet, because as the pandemic does exit, it may change a little bit of the amount of cardboard and whatnot being used for shipping products. But you know, it's something we just got to keep our eye on and watch the recycling market and make sure that we've got places for the public to recycle their products.
Thank you. Got another question? You guys ready?
Nah,
All right,
but let's do it anyway.
In this one, we start with Mr. Hoag this time. How would you address the addiction problem in Crow Wing County?
Well, I think again, there's a lot of work being done on that right now. You know, the recent addition to counselors in our jails have recognized some of those folks that don't actually need to be incarcerated. They need the treatment programs and the counseling instead. So we've had some very good success in that. Is it too early to maybe celebrate? I think so, but we are seeing some encouraging numbers that indicate that maybe getting out in front of this, and again, it's one of those programs where you need to invest money into them early on before you're going to see the paybacks on it. But I think that's one of them, and I think over the next couple of years we'll have some more firm numbers that will tell us if that was the right move or not. But it's a problem that's here. It's going to stay, and we've just got to figure out how to get out in front of it. I know there's an effort to even start pushing more at the youth, getting that information back out to the youth. So yeah, it's an ongoing, it's a huge problem, but I think it's got the attention that it needs, and we'll continue to fight it as long as we have to.
Thank you. Mr. Starry, same question. How would you address the addiction problem in Crow Wing County?
Well, ultimately, I think, barring the probably inevitable in the next 15 years of just legalization across the country, which is going to take away and make some changes there, I think the number one thing is early intervention. Alcoholics tend to be the offspring of alcoholics. Drug addicts tend to be the offspring of child abuse, of neglect, of really terrible situations. So when we as a community and as a police force and as a judicial system start to see these early warning signs, moms and dads are having some real major problems and they've got kids there and this kid's starting to get in trouble, you don't throw them into juvenile detention. You start counseling them, you start working on them, whether it's, you know, cognitive behavioral therapies or it's other ways of kids to learn how to cope with the real nightmare of their childhood. You know, I mean, that's the reality. When they start hitting their teenage years, they start using, and the next thing you know, they're the ones that are at the methadone clinic, and they're the ones that are in the jail now getting counseling. So I think early intervention youth programs where we're really working hard on that, maybe some more officer training where they're really able to get a keener eye when they see those situations at home and they start to see that little child, what can they do to interact with that kid and get them on the road to help before we have to put them in jail and then counsel them out and hope that we can decrease recidivism. So.
Thank you. Mr. Hoag, 30-second rebuttal.
Again, Tom, these programs take, you know, they do unfortunately cost some money, but the payback and rewards of the success of these programs outweighs any amount of money that you can throw at a program. But again, the community service staff has excellent people over there with the knowledge and the ability to get creative in how we get out in front of this drug addiction problem. So it's not a fun thing to discuss, but it's a necessary one to discuss and figure out how we'll never have all the answers, but I think we have to.
Time's up.
Didn't have the beeper this
Mr.
time.
Starry, 30-second rebuttal.
No, I agree with Commissioner Hoag. It is a problem that you can put some good money into, but I also think that you need to, when you've got an evidence-based system and you know that, okay, we're going to put in, say, $10 million, but we know that it reduces the rate of alcoholism, drug addiction, and jail time, then we also could figure out, we can extrapolate out those numbers and go, great, that's going to decrease law enforcement costs, judicial costs later down the road, so those need to be budgeted in as well. When we look at $10 million for youth services, we also need to look at how that's going to pay off and drop it off at the end.
Thank you.
Dang, they caught me.
All right, we have time for some more, a couple more here, I think. Let's see, we start with you, Michael. In order to maintain current services and programs in Crow Wing County, would you support an increase in levy or cuts? And if cuts, what cuts? Want me to repeat that?
Yeah, if you would, please.
Sure. In order to maintain current services and programs in Crow Wing County, would you support an increase in levy or cuts? And if cuts, what cuts?
I can't say. Without seeing a complete budget, without being able to see the complete return on investment and see how every process plays out, I can't say whether I would support or be opposed to any of it. Obviously, off the top, I believe that everything can be cut and things can be reduced and we can minimize expenses, but I can't say that something needs an increase when I don't know exactly what's out there. And you'd be remiss to say yes or no on either one of those without having that right in front of me and go, okay, here's our absolutes. You know, this is where I can cut, this is where I can increase. No, without being able to see it and see how productive it's been. That's the number one thing for me. Was this cost beneficial to the community? Did this overall benefit us socially? Did it promote our general welfare? And was the return on investment worth it or not? I'd have to see all of those numbers before I could say, yeah, just slash it or, you know, absolutely keep it where it is.
Thank you. Mr. Hoag, same question. In order to maintain current services and programs in Crow Wing County, would you support an increase in levy or cuts? And if cuts, what cuts?
Well, as far as the cuts, we could start there. There will be, you know, millions of dollars of cuts out of this year's budget request. So yeah, and that's the case in every year, because a department comes to us and asks for $2 million in increase. Doesn't mean they're going to get $2 million. As far as the increase, if it supports a program that is going to have a ultimate reduction in our levy at some point, and again, this is where we take the knowledge and the expertise of our staff to show us those models. Again, I'm willing to look at a short-term gain for long-term reward here. So we've done that a number of times, and we continue to do it. We're looking at some of those programs currently, and again, they're always a risk. Some work, most work. Some have proven not to, but you've got to invest in some of these programs if we're going to get out in front of some of the current problems that are facing us today and some of the problems that are going to be facing us tomorrow. So it's an investment.
Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Starry, 30-second rebuttal.
No, I think for the most part, on the concept, the commissioner and I are in agreement that there's no sacred cow, so there's always an opportunity for cut. I'm a lot less likely to say, yep, I could see where an increase would be here. So on the face of it, you know, if I can maintain things, that'd be wonderful. If I can maintain the services for lower cost to the people, then that's the route I'd rather take.
Thank you. 30-second rebuttal, Mr. Hoag.
Well, I'll maybe just point out an example again in law enforcement. We know we've got a future project coming that's going to hit the northwest corner of Crow Wing County, which is the pipeline. We've already, for over a year, we've been discussing that project, as well as the need that our sheriff's office is going to need to keep the people safe, and how we're gonna handle that influx of potential crime. So there are things that you just have to invest in, and if they don't show up, great. If they do, we're prepared.
Thank you. Okay, back to Mr. Hoag, starting out. How would you address the mental health crisis in Crow Wing County?
Well, just again, it falls under, very similar to your last question. We've got to invest in mental health. It again is an increasing issue that the whole country is faced with. If we don't give our people the tools to work with, it's going to lead to further, more costly problems. Again, our team has done a fantastic job of bringing the mental health issues to light. I think we've with the Crow Wing Energize, have done a fantastic job of getting the community involved. I just think it's one of those issues that for so long was just kind of kept quiet, and now we have been able to bring it out in front, and I think it's had an impact, and I think we've got a long way to go, but at least we're addressing it and hopefully making some improvements and changes in people's lives.
Thank you. Mr. Starry, same question. How would you address the mental health crisis in Crow Wing County?
Well, I think one of the things we're facing is when the state hospital shut down, and as we've seen nationwide, when state hospitals and the institutions were shut down, we really faced a crisis. We're kind of getting out in front of these things a little bit right now, but I think early intervention obviously is good. I also think that's an opportunity for the community and the county to go, you know what, what's our number one need? Is it a group setting? Is it better care for people? Is it staged life settings where at one point we're in a major hospital setting and then we can halfway house and we can transition into a better life outside of that? I think there's a million options that we could look at. It would take sitting down with all the social workers and the social services and discussing it, but that is an opportunity that this community could probably lead the state on, where we could face the lack of a state hospital with a county hospital, community situation where we could maybe treat and help these people move forward, and it goes way beyond what everybody thinks, mental health, you're crazy. Well, there's a lot more to it. That's where I think the transitional phases could come in really, really good for us as well. So that's where I'd like to see it at least move toward, or see if we could look into.
Thank you. 30-second rebuttal to you, Mr. Hoag.
I'll say that Crow Wing County, along with all of the health partners in our area, have done a fantastic job of identifying and addressing this issue. Years past, it was just common to put these people into our jail and just get them kind of lost in the system, where today we are truly identifying their needs and getting them the help that they need to avoid the issue from going too far. So I applaud again all of the healthcare people, as well as the county community service folks for addressing that.
Thank you. Mr. Starry, 30-second rebuttal.
No, I agree. I think the county has done a fairly good job. I think there's room for improvement, and it would take a lot of hard work and a lot of discussion. But I think to this point we have started to address it in ways that we didn't when I was a young man. So yeah, definitely kudos to the county, to our medical system, to our social system here. It's catching up and it's doing good work. So,
thank you. Are we good on time? Okay. All right, that's going to wrap up the questions from me then. We're going to go to, let's see, we're going to start with you, Michael.
Time's up, I can't.
You got 1 minute for a closing statement.
Closing statement, Commissioner Hogue and I agree on a number of things. We disagree on a number of things. I'm a far more hard-lined kind of guy when it comes to taxes, when it comes to increases, when it comes to liberty, when it comes to the Constitution. I admit it. I'll say it outright. I'm an extremist because I believe that the idea of freedom and what we have in this community is pretty extreme in other parts of the world. So there are always going to be disagreements on the county board. There's going to be disagreements amongst the people. That's what happens. It's how you handle it as an adult. I think I've proven myself to be able to overcome all of these things in my lifetime, from drug addiction to homelessness to, where I'm at now with a loving family and a little farm and sitting up in front of all of you having a debate. I think I've proven that I can handle things like an adult, and I think that's, give me that shot on the board.
Thank you. 1 minute closing statements, Mr. Hogue.
All right, well, I want to first thank again everybody for participating tonight. At this point in today's world, I think it's important to have a commissioner with the experience. I've have 13 years of experience, the knowledge of how county government works, the ability to work and respect my counterparts, as well as the 60,000 bosses that I do have. I can say that District 5, from the day I got on to today, has changed dramatically in a good way. And I've been involved firsthand with some of those changes, and others I haven't. Kudos to those folks that have been passionate about some of this change. But we've got a long way to go. I think it helps to get there with the experience and knowledge that I've got through the past 13 years. I would ask for your continued support and your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time I want to thank the candidates. We'll start with Arlene Jones. She's the write-in candidate for Crow Wing County Commissioner, District 1. Doug Hogue, Michael Starry, County Commissioner candidates for District 5 in Crow Wing County. We also want to thank all of our sponsors. We want to thank the Cayuna Lakes Chamber of Commerce, the League of Women Voters, Brainerd Lakes, and all the volunteers from the American Association of University Women. I want to thank the Hella Community Center for providing a venue for us. Amber and Buzz and the rest of the staff, nice job setting this up. We appreciate it very much. You can find more candidate and voting information at the back of the room or out in the hall. I believe you'll find that on your way out. Remember to vote. Election day is Tuesday, November 3rd. Early voting begins this Friday, September 18th. You can please go to Vote 411 for accurate information regarding your voter registration and what's on your ballot and absentee voting. I want to thank everybody for coming out here tonight, and again, everybody that helped put this on, fantastic job. I do want to say a couple things here about the League of Women Voters. It's a trusted, nonpartisan political organization. It's been active in Minnesota for 100 years. If you'd like to join the league, you could have a great impact on local, state, and national issues. Membership is open to both men and women. A voice of business of the Cayuna Lakes and the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber is a 501c3 business, nonprofit, which seeks to enhance economic growth through partnerships with businesses, community organizations, and government agencies to better ensure the region is a vibrant, prosperous place to work and live. Help support the Chamber at its upcoming fundraiser, and that is October 8th at the Trailside, is that correct? On Main Street, used to be the Crosby Bar. Learn more about membership to the Chamber and its events at CayunaLakes.com. Don't forget, tomorrow night, we'll be right back here at 5 o'clock we'll have the Crosby mayor candidates and the Crosby City Council candidates. I believe the mayors are first, 5 to 6 o'clock, and then from 6 to 7, we'll have the city council candidates. Everything will be live stream. Information is on the chamber website, Facebook and YouTube. And once again, thanks everybody for showing up here tonight. Thanks you guys for your time. Appreciate it very much. And good luck to everybody in the upcoming election. Give them all a great hand, will you please? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
We are done.
Thanks, Tom.